The Earnestly Speaking podcast is a show that is founded on free-flowing conversation and may at times venture into mature subjects. Listener discretion is advised.
Yeah, Earnestly Speaking podcast. Let's get it. I'm a giant in New York, in Miami carry heat. So much more in store, my product can flood the street. Opinion Nation Godfather, CEO. Puff in the late 90s, gon' see me blow. Oh. Got my hustle on, no imitation of bad. Army of untouchables, Opinion Nation staff. Never an off season, homie, check the numbers. Heart throb in my own right, supplying southern comfort. Earnestly speaking, my ego is well fed. Earnestly speaking, you're too evil and no threat. See, I'm like a hurricane, you're a mild breeze. Earnestly speaking, leaving Eli a dynasty. Shake!
Perfect Podcast coming to you June 13th, 2024. If I sound a little hoarse, I apologize. I think I'm coming out with a cold, I believe. I'm not sure. Because sometimes when you hit those little tickles in your throat, it's hard to tell if it's allergies, which I have really bad allergies. You guys know in this podcast, I've had it for years. Or if it's actual cold. And I don't know. I honestly don't know. The weather's been really weird here the last couple of days too, also, because as I've been saying for the last couple weeks, that it's been really, really, really hot down in South Florida. To the point it's been really dry. And I've said that we need some rain. I guess God heard my prayers, because for the last 3 days, we've got nothing but rain down here. So much that it's some really, really bad flooding up in down south in Miami and in Broward County. So it's been really rough. Luckily, it has been as bad here in terms of the flooding. We've been fine. So that's okay. But it's been raining every day. It's been very, very gloomy the last couple of days as well, too. Anyway, you might have noticed the last week or two, I haven't put as much content as I used to, than I normally do, should I say. And a lot of that is, I'm kind of going into, what you call it, cruise control this summer. I made a decision to go on cruise control. The last episode, I explained to you guys that, with the summer coming up and my kids are home and my niece is going to be here with us every day, almost every day throughout the summer. I want to spend more time with my kids. Kind of want to pace myself a little bit. You guys know with the podcast, I tend to get very, very busy, especially during the fall when football comes back. I do this show, other content. I do a lot more content on this feed than any point in the year during the fall into the winter. And then my wrestling podcast I do, which I haven't done an episode in almost a month. That's by design. I obviously do my every Tuesday. Also, I'm on the Huddle Up podcast with my guys, Big Jim and Kyle Nash and Matthew Muleisen. And that's a weekly 2-hour commitment every 1 hour and a half, 2-hour commitment every Tuesday. So I'm just kind of pace myself now for this rest of the summer. Now we're still going to do shows, obviously. I'm going to still try to keep at least one solo show a week. Maybe, we'll see how that plays out, obviously. But I'm just trying to pace myself down this summer. I made a decision to do that. To me also, this is going to be a summer reevaluation for myself in a lot of ways. Not just because of the shows, but also because of myself, and it's because of me, the way I look at life. I'm really trying to get back to focusing on my health again. I really, really slipped in the last couple of months. It's been a struggle to get back on track. Just being honest. So, and I know a lot of times I repeat this same sentiment on the show, every so often on the podcast, but it holds me. It stands to reason and stands to, just to be honest with you guys and be transparent with you guys. I don't want to get burned out, obviously, too. I just want to lay back and kind of enjoy life. The summertime for us is fairly. It's weird because as a family, I find it's more. I won't say the word stress. I don't want to keep touching the word stress to my children and to my family and my obligations here at home. But there are challenges where I have to keep my kids, active, or which actually, to be honest, that's not even an issue on their end because they already active as is. I'm grateful that my kids are outdoor kids who like to go outside and play and do sports and ride bikes and all that. But on the other end is that by me doing by them being that way, I have to also catch up with them and kind of be there with them to do those things. So by the time the day's over, I'm worn out and I have time to have energy to do a show, because I'm just tired. Um, but so this is a sort of reevaluation when it comes to a lot of things. When it comes to my future, it could be employment, it could be just how we do things as a family. I'm just looking at the thing, and I feel like this. I want to focus on the things that matter. Pat Riley once said, "The main thing is the main thing," and I'm obviously wanting to do that. Now the thing is with the summer is just pretty cool. Is that some of my favorite shows I do during the year, during the summer especially too. Um, some of my favorite shows are actually during the summer. We have a lot of special episodes coming up in the next few weeks. I know I'm recording it next week, but on the 25th of June, we're scheduled to drop a 15-year anniversary episode on the death of Michael Jackson. I got two of my good friends who I've known for over 20 something years, who we met through that MJ community years ago, and some of them have gotten close to Michael through the years and before his passing and whatnot. Got a lot to go through that episode. We're going to drop that one on the actual date of his anniversary. His death was the 25th of June. Also, I think I already mentioned this once on the show too. Also, we're going to be doing a 25-year anniversary celebration of The Sopranos. As you guys know, I finished the show recently for the first time. Finally, after like 4 attempts, I finally finished The Sopranos. Me and the wife, we did that a few weeks ago. I have a good friend of mine coming on the show. We're going to talk about the show itself, rank some characters, and the whole nine. We're going to do also later in the summer, later in July, recording. We've been doing this last couple of years, and I kind of like it. Ranking our top quarterbacks, ranking the quarterbacks in each conference. That's coming in late July, early August. So there's some built-in episodes already for the show that I'm planning to do as is. Oh yeah, we're doing another Falcon content episode we just did with Big Jim and Kyle. We're gonna do another one in July, early July. So there's a lot of show. What I've done to make this feed somewhat active, to not make sure it dies, because I want to pace myself, of course, and kind of relax, and I already have built-in scheduled shows through the next 2 months to make sure this thing is at least has a show a week. And maybe I'll do a solo like this, a solo episode around it. Who knows? Maybe there's a random guest. We'll see. I just don't get burnt out. I want to be able to enjoy the summer, go on cruise control, as I said, and just kind of, just chill a little bit, not go crazy. This is a passion of mine, but I have to say, in recent weeks, again, I've started feeling a little burnt out, and a lot of it has nothing to do with the show itself, but this energy in general, which then permeates into the show itself. I don't want to also half-ass doing the podcast. I want to just do a podcast like doing a podcast. I don't want to half-ass it. So that's the plan for the summer. So there's so many episodes I'm planning on doing in the weeks to come. Should look forward to those. Should be a really, really, really good time. Before we get into the NBA finals, because that's an atrocity in itself, I do want to take some time to remember the great basketball Hall of Famer Jerry West, who passed away yesterday at age 86. They haven't revealed the cause of death. Obviously, an older guy, but Jerry West, the logo. You're talking about one of the guys who arguably one of the greatest players in history of the league, Hall of Famer. One can argue, as great a player as he was, the guy. Look at the NBA logo. He's the logo. One can argue, Jerry West is not only one of the greatest players of all time. One can argue he might be the greatest executive, not just in NBA history. You can make a real argument that Jerry West might be one of the greatest executive in history of sports. Think of the impactful things he did as an executive. Okay, but before we get there, some of you youngins out there who probably don't, you hear a name Jerry West, like, Jerry West, he's great, blah, 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 whatever, but you don't understand it. This is the only guy that ever won a Finals MVP despite losing the series. You know what I'm saying? Check out all these accomplishments he's done as a player alone. Now, obviously, one championship only, but again, playing up against the Boston Celtics team in the 60s that was unstoppable. They've been entitled 13 years. Hard to do. Hard to beat that team. but he won an NBA championship. He was one. I think 1-8, 1-9 in the finals. He was MVP in the finals in '69 when he lost to Lakers. 14-time NBA All-Star. He was the NBA All-Star Game MVP in '72. He's a 10-time All-NBA first teamer, 2-time All-NBA second teamer. This one's impressive here. 4-time All-NBA 4-time All Defensive Team first team. Okay. Then he's a 1-time All Defensive second team. NBA scoring champion in 1970. He was actually also the assist leader in 72. He was a part of the NBA anniversary team of the 35th, 50th, and 75th anniversary teams. Of course, the numbers retired by the Lakers. The number 440 were retired by the Lakers. He was also in college the Final Four's most outstanding player in '59. 2-time consensus first team All-American in '59-60. 3rd-time All-American in '58. He's a 2-time SoCon Player of the Year. His number 444 also retired by his West Virginia Rap Mountaineers, and he also won the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2019. That's, obviously phenomenal career. As an executive, he was also an 8-time champion. He was also a 2-time NBA Executive of the Year. Also, the guy that built the Lakers, Showtime Lakers, in the late 70s, early 80s, was also the guy that traded for Shaq and traded for Kobe. Well, traded for Shaq and for Kobe in '96. Did that. Built the Memphis Grizzlies team in the early 2000s. Won second year in 2004 for that. Then also played a very heavy hand in building the Warriors and getting Kevin Durant to come to Golden State in 2016. He was an advisor with the Warriors in yachts, and then even an advisor for the Clippers, bringing Kawhi Leonard and Paul George over to the Clippers in 2019, 2020. So you look at Jerry West's career, decorated career. The guy is truly one of the all-time greats. I've already said that this guy, as great as a player as he was, he's arguably a top 20 player. Some would say 15, and I'm with you on that. One can argue he was a better executive. And for me to say that, knowing numbers, knowing the stats I just gave you guys, how good a player he was in his heyday, and I can sit there and say that he might be a better executive because he's probably the greatest executive in the history of basketball, and he's certainly probably in the conversation with one of the greatest executives in the history of sports. That is saying something. But Jerry West passed away yesterday, age 86. Rest in power to truly one of the all-time greats, Mr. Clutch, the logo, you know it. Yeah, truly a huge loss in the basketball community. As for, excuse me, again, coming on the cold a little bit, NBA Finals. Celtics up 3-0. This is, I thought this had been a more competitive series. And certainly game 2 was kind of competitive. I know game 1, the score's not indicative. Well, actually, that's a lie. Because Boston was up by 29 points in the first half. Dallas came back, cut it to 7 on point in the third quarter, and then Boston ran away in the fourth quarter. So it is what it is. Yesterday, Dallas took an early lead, game 3. Dallas took an early lead. You're thinking, oh, well, they might take game 3. Maybe have a series again. Boston weathers that storm. And I got to tell you guys, excuse me, not a Celtics fan, obviously. You guys know this already. But what they did last night was so impressive. This was arguably the most impressive win of their entire playoff run. Let me tell you why. Because you go to Dallas, okay, without Kristaps Porzingis, who gets re-injured, by the way, who got re-injured in game 2, who may not even come back for the series, and at this point, they may even need him. Okay, you go down big in Dallas in a very, very hostile environment, okay, and you weather the storm. You weather the storm there. You take a big lead in the fourth quarter, up 21 in the fourth quarter. Dallas comes back. Dallas actually cuts the lead down to 1, I believe, and then Boston just settles in and wins the game. Jason Tatum had a really big game really big game, game 3. But even more so, Jaylen Brown, who might be the Finals MVP at this point now. I think it's inarguable, to be honest, at this point, that Jaylen Brown is the Finals MVP of this series. Now, a lot of the rhetoric in this finals, and specifically with Boston Celtics, is this. Well, this is the easiest path they ever had. This is the easiest path the team's ever had to win a championship. They haven't won a championship yet, but they're going to win it probably Friday, or I think they'll. I think Dallas wins game 4, and then Boston closes out at home in game 5. But the rhetoric is, oh, well, there's easiest trek, because remember they played the Heat in the first round without Jimmy Butler and a bunch of injuries there on that roster. Then you play half the series without Donovan Mitchell. The Cavs had Donovan Mitchell for games 4 and 5. Then you didn't have Tyrese Halliburton, the best player, for half of that series. Like basically, the best player in each team they've played has missed either the entire series or at least half the series. So I get the rhetoric there, but you can't control the narratives and stuff. And look, I know there's some Celtics fans saying, "Well, this is the all-time great Celtics team, 6-4-18 record." And I remember, I think I mentioned on one of the episodes recently that the efficiency numbers, offensively speaking, is actually tops all time. And I told you guys that's cute and all, but number 2 all time was actually the Patriots team to beat in the conference finals. So come on, stop context. However, I'm going to defend Celtics fans here to say this: number one, you can't control who you play. You can't control circumstances. And I know that people saying, "Oh, well, this Boston title is going to be an asterisk because of this and this and that." No, it's not. Because at the end of the day, context does matter to a point, but it doesn't matter. Rings are rings, titles are titles, and no matter what, in 10, 15 years, unless you are someone like myself who is I would say I kind of fancy myself as a basketball historian to the degree. I love the game. I love the game anyway. I love the NBA. Unless you are really dedicated to breaking down context in the moment and still keeping those same contextual arguments years later, which most sports fans today, especially kids under 35, 30 years old who don't use context, you're not going to care in 10, 15 years. What you're going to see is 2024 Boston Celtics NBA champions. And that's all that matters. So it doesn't matter. It's a bad look to sit and knock this team, okay, for doing that. And look, and again, I am not a Celtics fan for the record. I'm not. So I'm not even so much defending them. I'm defending the logic. I will say for myself though, like, because again, I use context because I'm actually a pretty intelligent guy when it comes to NBA history, and my sweet spot when it comes to history comes from the 80s and way through today. In terms of context, is that even though they were 6-4-18, even though the Celtics are a all-time one of the, by virtue of the analytics, greatest offensive scoring team, efficient team in the history of basketball, this team doesn't feel like a historically great team. It doesn't feel that way. Again, because of the context. Okay, I'm not saying they still wouldn't have gotten here if Gene Butler played the entire series, if Donovan Mitchell played the entire series, if Tyrese Halliburton played the entire series. Because first off, folks, I picked the Celtics win the finals before the year started. Go back to this podcast. Go back, back to October when we did the season preview with Zach and Chris. We did our picks, and I said the Celtics. Begrudgingly said the Celtics because I'm not a Celtics fan, so that's here or there. But it doesn't matter. They've done their job, and they and that's just that. The other argument too, again, pertains to the Celtics because the Mavericks pretty much are pretty much non-existent now almost, is that who's the best player on the team? Because here's what I'll say about this, because this has been an argument for the last couple weeks now with the Celtics. Jason Tatum, and for the record, and I'm going to say this real quick, because we've been having this argument on this podcast for the last year, 2 years about where does Jason Tatum stand in the pecking order, in the league right now as an individual player, top 5, 6, 7, who knows? We've been having arguments on the show about where he lands, and my argument has been for the last year or two that Jason Tatum is, to me, a little frustrating because he might be a top 5 guy, but I have a hard time definitively putting him in the top 5 discussion, or at least put him in the top 5 anyway. Like I think I did rank a top number 5 on my list before the year started, but I think a lot of other circumstances led to that situation. Players, getting older and players not playing well, and he did play well in the playoffs last year prior to the Game 7 against Miami last year in the conference finals. I will say this playoff run, even though he was great this year, Tatum was again another great year. Was in the MVP conversation, top 5-ish discussion. But what I will say is this playoff run has actually vindicated me in a lot of ways. He is not a top 5 player in the league. He's top 10, yes, absolutely. But you have guys like SGA making a sense this year. Guys like Anthony Edwards making a sense this year. Jason Tatum's a top 10 guy, probably number 6, number 7. He was the best player this year from games 1 to 82. But this entire playoff run, he has not been the best player on the team. Jaylen Brown has made the ascent to being the best player on this team this playoff run. Let me rephrase that. I still agree Tatum's the best player on the team. But who's played the best with his entire playoff run? Without question, Jaylen Brown. He's been the best player in these finals. He's been the best player every single round of this playoff series. This playoff run. That's not a question. And the way things are going right now, obviously Game 4 is tomorrow night. Jaylen Brown is the runaway favorite for Finals MVP. It's not even close. People, I was arguing with someone on Twitter on X today about that and said, no, Tatum's close. No, he's not. He's not close. He's not close. Jaylen Brown has been the clear number one best player or played the best in these finals. That is not a conversation at this point. Also, you got to give Joe Mazzulla's flowers because there's a lot of pressure here. This was Tyler Buss for the Celtics. Same with Joe Mazzulla. You add a KP for Porzingis. You add a Jrue Holiday with Tatum and Brown. Tatum Brown's been to the conference finals now 6 times last 8 years. Although Tatum was with I think 5 times in 8 years. The first one was Jaylen Brown with Isaiah Thomas. It's put up a shut up. It's put up a shut up for the Celtics this year. And they look again. Context, of course, matters, but they took advantage of it. The opportunities came through, and they took advantage of it. They were the best team. They've been the best team in the league from pillar to post at this point. Now, barring them blowing an 0-3 lead here, they've done their job. You got to give them credit. And so the Celtics, to me, have done their job. And whenever the series ends tomorrow or Monday for Game 5, which, by the way, crazy final schedule. Assuming this actually were to go to Game 7, did you guys realize that Game 7 finals is actually going to be on June 24th? That is very late for an NBA calendar. So I'm just saying. So Celtics, they're doing their job. I think they'll lose Game 4 and then win Game 5 at home and close it out there at home. One last thing also, too, the Lakers situation, the coaching drama. We've been hearing for weeks that J.J. Redick was the favorite to get this coaching job. And then Dan Hurley, UConn head coach, back-to-back winner, national title winner for the men's team. All of a sudden, he's now brought into the fold. The Lakers made him an offer. It was like 6 years, $70 million. Turned it down, which in hindsight was actually a bit of a lowball offer, considering what coaches are making these days versus the quality of coach that Dan Hurley is in college, especially. Lakers are a mess, man. The next coach that coaches LeBron James, when he gets a coach, will be his 4th coach on this team alone, and he's only been here 6 years. That is insane. I'm not blaming LeBron for this, although he's got to take some responsibility for that because, again, he's the best player on the team. So therefore, that hangs on you. But it's a bad look. It's certainly a bad look for LeBron James and the company. And I'm someone that has always said that in any sport, coaching stability matters. I'm not saying these guys deserve to get fired. There may have been things beyond just basketball. The reason why Frank Vogel got fired or Darvin Ham got fired and Luke Walton and all that. But the Lakers look so bad. Ever since Phil Jackson left the team in 2011, the Lakers have not had a head coach in the last 13 years stay more than 3 years. That is pathetic. For the Lakers, too, especially, that's pathetic. And to me, that is not a sexy job right now to want. Like, they got to find a guy they can believe in, find a guy to believe in, and really stick with the program. Stability matters. Look at the Heat down here in Miami. Eric Spoelstra. What else? 16 years into this thing now? This team is always in the conversation every year in the playoffs. Stability. I mean, I'm surprised the Lakers, all the talk and all the, we're the Lake Show and this and that and the legacy and 17 rings and all that. And we praise for that, but stability matters, man. They're being run. I don't know, man. Seeing this, it's just weird. Frank Vogel wins the title. He took his fired a year later. Darvin Ham was 2 years there, goes to the conference finals last year after recovering from that dreadful start last year. This year, they lose to the defending NBA champions in the playoffs. And I'm not saying Darvin Ham wasn't absolved with blame for some of the things that happened this year for the Lakers, but I don't think on its face that he's ever get fired. I'm sorry. I just think the Lakers are just so unstable. It's such a bad look. It really is. So They get the shit together, man. But right now there's the rumors today is that JJ Redick did interview today for the coaching job with LA. Does he get hired? We'll see. He's a good mind, obviously basketball mind, but it's gonna be his first job. You really want your first job to be Lakers? I don't know, man. I don't know. It's such a bad look. And we're still talking about Caitlin Clark also too. Supposedly she was not supposedly she was not added to the Olympic roster for the summer. Lots of controversy about that. Lots of conversation about that. We discussed it last week on the podcast about Caitlin Clark and the the basketball or non-basketball play that happened to her last week in that game she played where she got knocked on the floor and no one helped her up and none of her teammates helped her up. It was just by the way, a fucking bad look. Horrible look. I don't care. I don't give a shit what it is. Horrible look. Did she get snubbed by the Olympics? I know she got snubbed. I'm of the opinion that regardless, look, do I think she's one of the 10 best players in the NBA in the WNBA right now? Probably not. I don't know. I don't watch enough to make the assessment. I rely on other people who watch the sport to make those analysis for me. But I will say, in my opinion, and this is my opinion, it was silly to not add her to the Olympics. You know, I don't give a shit what Angel Reese says. I don't give a shit what all these players say. WNBA has grown because of not just one person. And yes, WNBA has shown some growth through the years. But the massive jump this year in WNBA is absolutely due to Clayton Clark. You cannot deny it. The data says it. The data supports it, and that's all that matters. The data matters. So I thought it was really silly for the Olympic team to not add her. This from a marketing perspective. You want to put her on the bench as a 12th man, so be it. But man, and I get that. I get the fact that just basketball reasons, and I respect that. And anybody defending why they did what they did, I respect your candor on that. But I still say it's still silly. The WNBA needs to strike this iron while it's hot. Caitlin Clark is, and again, it needs to play. We need to see how it plays out in the years to come. But the direction we're going now in terms of interest alone reminds me of Tiger Woods with golf in 1996, where the numbers, the numbers for the Masters and all these other things were fairly decent. They're okay, whatever. And then you see a massive jump in 96, 97 in golf interest because of one guy. And you can't deny it's not Tiger Woods. You can't deny it. It was Tiger Woods. Caitlin Clark, right now, at least through where we're at now, I'm see how things play out in the years to come. But the interest alone in this sport and the interest of her alone in the last 2 years surrounding the sport of women's basketball, both college and pros, absolutely Caitlin Clark has been the reason why more eyeballs have come to the sport. And instead of these ladies trying to find ways to whatever, she's one person and it's not just one person and this and that, and embrace it, because you know what, when your salary is increasing, when your salary starts increasing next year or two, when you're having better flights to games, when you're going to add more teams because there's more revenue to the sport, you have her to thank. I'm sorry, that's the facts. And the reason why I'm not saying it's on my feelings, I'm saying this because the data supports it. Caitlin Clark is the reason why NBA right now has so much interest. I'm sorry. You may not like it, but that's what it is. I don't care what else says in discussion. Another thing also too, I've been watching, obviously, Game 3, Stanley Cup Finals. I'm obviously invested, a little bit invested, because they beat my team in the last round down here in Florida, Panthers. I'm rooting for the Panthers winning, obviously. I think we might get a sweep. There's nothing in the first 2 games I saw that made me believe that the Edmonton Oilers are going to take a game for the Panthers. I think that Game 3 is so important. I think if the Panthers win tonight to take a 3-0 lead, you go for the throat. Game 4, and I don't think Edmonton wants to travel another 2,500 to another 2,500 miles back to South Florida, even if they win Game 4, to lose Game 5 to go back up to Edmonton again. I don't think I want that. So I think the series is going to be decided tonight. I think if Edmonton wins tonight, obviously they're still in it and have a chance to come back Game 4 as well. But if Florida can cut the head off the snake tonight, Game 4, it's a sweep. And I think it's going to be a sweep, to be honest with you. What I've watched these first 2 games, they've been easily the best team in hockey that I've watched as much as I could watch throughout these playoffs. consistently great, and I don't think it's an argument anymore. And someone who lives in this area for since I was 9 years old and was here when this team first started in 1993. I'm very happy for the people here in this market, especially being a Heat fan as long as I have. You tend to soften up these teams in the market, the Dolphins, the Panthers, Marlins to some degree. I'm happy for this franchise. I really am. So game 3 is tonight, of course. On that. What else? One more thing before I read some responses for this week's QOTWs. Finally, my wife and I are caught up on The Boys. Amazon Prime's The Boys. Season 4 drops today, actually, the first 3 episodes. So how they release the shows, they do the first 3 episodes of the season like today. Then they'll be week to week for the next 5 weeks, because I think it's 8 episodes per season. I believe they're going to continue that same order. Episodes are an hour each. I love the show. I do understand people not liking season 3. A lot of people will complain about season 3 being very, very weird and just totally out of this world. I enjoyed it, but I completely understand why people don't like it. It was good seeing some of the character growth of Butcher, and seeing some of the things how things play out there. I really enjoyed the show. I really have, and we'll see how season 4 goes. Obviously, Queen Maeve. We saw the ending of season 3. Queen Maeve is still alive. As is, I think Soldier Boy is also still alive too, as well. I believe. I know he's put back in some some hyperbaric chamber, some shit like that. But yeah, it's a good show, man. Very vulgar though. If you don't like vulgarity and nudity and very upfront, it's very Game of Thrones in terms of the content. Very aggressive in terms of the vulgarity. But if you're not someone who's offended by vulgarity, which I'm not, obviously, definitely check it out. It's on Amazon Prime. The Boys season 4 just dropped today, 3 episodes. So when wife gets home from work, which will be in the next half an hour, once the kids are asleep, we'll be diving in those episodes tonight. Can't wait for that. So that's just that. All right. So this week's question of the week was the following on the show. Question of the week was, what's a movie where nearly every line is quotable? We got a lot of response on this topic this week. Let's go to Twitter first, to X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. My boy Chris Lacey was on the podcast a couple weeks ago. He says Step Brothers is his. A good friend also, DJ Minter, he says Army of Darkness. Our own Big Jim, Tommy Boy. Devin Hamilton, he says South Park, bigger, longer, and uncut. Our own Ryan Miller says Not Another Teen Movie. I like that one. It's a good one. I've seen one a long time, actually. All right, so let's get to the Facebook responses. Adam Brent Bailey says, he has a couple actually. He says Step Brothers, Pulp Fiction, Die Hard, The Godfather, Tombstone, and Forrest Gump. My boy Joey Dolan says Friday. Not a surprise right there. Our own Jordan Buscarini says Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Ronnie Rossamino says Harold Kumar, Super Troopers, and Don't Mess with the Zohan. I like that one. Tom Terzacco says Wedding Crashers. Melissa Cabrera, she says it's Disney movies. It's Aladdin, Little Mermaid, and then Napoleon Dynamite is another one. Chad Bender, he says Happy Gilmore, and then Back to the Future. Greg Veltri says Caddyshack, Tropic Thunder, Airplane, Princess Bride, Dumb and Dumber, and Anchorman. Lauren Cassis says Pulp Fiction, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, Alice in Wonderland, Back to the Future, and Toy Story. Lots of copies here, Back to the Futures and Pulp Fictions. Paul Cassis, shout out to my friend Paul and Lauren. They got married recently. Love you guys. They said Pineapple Express and Silence of the Lambs. Genevieve Brunty says Tropic Thunder. Megan Cortez, Empire Records. William Bell says Blazing Saddles. Matthew Rodriguez says Step Brothers. Tiffany Eisner, Dirty Dancing. Warren Brooks says Vacation, Vegas Vacation, and Christmas Vacation. I do see a pattern there. Tiffany Eisner also weighs in and says The Little Mermaid. Jenny Smythe says Airplane. Ferris Yazbek says Goodfellas. And Andrea Cunningham says Pulp Fiction. No one. Torian Spears says Swingers. My best friend Alex Mahey says Spaceballs. That's one of mine also too, for the record. Let me see. Joey Dolan says Pulp Fiction also too. Janet Pat says Dumb and Dumber. I love these entries. Let's see any more of these on the list here. From my other account here. Give me 1 second. As for mine, I got mine's actually, I got to go into here too. No, that's it. Mine for my movies that are quotable for me Coming to America is one. The first two Beverly Hills Cops, 1 and 2. So Eddie Murphy, definitely you see that one there. Golden Child by Eddie Murphy as well too, very quotable. And then on my all-time favorites, probably the movie I quoted the most in high school, Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, the first one. Probably my favorite quote of all time. And I used it on my wife just to be a jerk because I'm stupid as hell. My favorite quote from that movie is when Ace Ventura tells who he was investigating. He goes, "If I'm not back in 5 minutes, just wait longer." And I use that all the time. I use it with my kids. This obviously a joke, obviously, but I'm not back in 2 minutes. Just wait longer. And so that's actually my favorite quote of all time of any movie. I love the obviously Beverly Hills Cop with the first one, the banana and tailpipe quote they always use. That one's great too as well. Spaceballs is another one of mine. Is one of mine as well too. But yeah, mine's very, very, very heavy. I'm not surprised there. So thank you guys, all you guys, for contributing this week on the QOTWs. Love all the responses on the show. My throat is already getting sore, so I'm going to call it there. Anyway, I am on Twitter /X at EJ7. Folks, check out my YouTube page at youtube.com/@EarnestChristian. We're trying to get to 500 subscribers by the end of summer. Like I said, we'll be pacing ourselves this summer with the episodes. If you're a fan of retro wrestling, I have a wrestling podcast called the Wrestling Retrospective, which I haven't done in a couple weeks, but hopefully next week or two I'll do an episode there. Beyond that, that is it for me. Talk to you guys later. God bless y'all. Love y'all. Stay safe. I gotta go see a doctor tomorrow and get more blood work, and looking forward to that. Not really, but because I hate needles, but whatever. Love you guys. Take care.